As the Stanley Cup playoffs heat up and the pressure on NHL teams intensifies, many fans start to wonder if their team is cursed by the so-called President's Trophy curse. This superstition says that winning the President's Trophy, which is given to the NHL team with the best regular season record, is a bad sign for a team's chance of winning the Stanley Cup. Even though they were the best team in the league, many President's Trophy winners went on to lose in the playoffs in surprising ways. This has led some to wonder if there is a curse at work. In this video, we'll look at the history of the President's Trophy and figure out if it really is an actual thing. Let's get started. The President's Trophy's first time. The President's Trophy was presented to the team that finished the regular season with the most points for the first time since the National Hockey League first awarded it in the 1985 to 1986 season. The first team to win the award was the Wayne Gretzky-led Edmonton Oilers, but the Calgary Flames eliminated them in the second round after a 7-game series. They were again victorious in the 1986 to 1987 season and brought home the Stanley Cup. The Flames were the second team to win it, taking home their first championship in 1987 to 88, but they could not advance past the Oilers in the second round of the playoffs. They had a successful comeback season in 1988 to 89, finishing atop the league standings and taking home their first Stanley Cup. After its first 4 years of existence, the President's Trophy champion went on to win the cup a whopping 50% of the time. But after that, things started to take an odd turn. It would be another 5 seasons before another team that finished in first place would win it all. And that would be the New York Rangers in 1993 to 94. After another 5 years, it happened again. This time with the Dallas Stars in the 1998 to 99 season. The Colorado Avalanche and the Detroit Red Wings bucked the trend by taking home both trophies in their respective seasons, 2000 to 2001 and 2001 to 2002, but it would be another 6 years before another team would do the same thing. After waiting for an additional 5 years, the Blackhawks finally managed to accomplish their goal. The 1995 to 1996 Red Wings, who set the record for wins with 62, were unable to advance past the conference final. And the 2018 to 19 Lightning, who tied Detroit's record for wins, were swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. Neither team was able to break the previous record for wins. In fact, winners of the President's Trophy have failed to advance past the second round more than 50% of the time. And ever since the lockout that occurred in 2004 to 2005, the recipient has been eliminated in the first round 5 times. That's a significant drop in success after the award was implemented. Therefore, it must be cursed, right? The curse is real. Some will argue that no curse is associated with winning the President's Trophy. One such person is Ian Cooper, who wrote that of the 6 President's Trophy winners who made first-round exits, 5 had come since the 1993 to 94 season, when the league changed from an earlier divisional to the conference playoff format. During that period, the St. Louis Blues were the only team in a consistently better division than its peers in 1999 to 2000. This really shouldn't come as a surprise. When a team dominates a weak division, its deficiencies should become apparent once it faces tougher competition from the rest of the conference. Despite this, the existence of a curse gives us a reason to believe that there is one. The best teams in the National Hockey League are doomed to fail because they frequently play in divisions with a lower overall level of play, which causes their win totals to be artificially inflated. As a result, these teams are doomed to fail. Since the 2017 to 2018 season, the team that won the President's Trophy has been placed in the same division as the team that finished in last place 50% of the time, and had the most significant point differential in 4 of the previous 6 seasons. This change was made effective at the beginning of the 2018 to 2019 season. Currently, the Bruins have a commanding 67-point lead over the Canadiens, who are now in last place in the Atlantic Division. This means that the 2022 to 2023 season will not be any different. When compared to the difference between divisions, this constitutes a 13-point advantage. On the other hand, the Flames and the Oilers competed against one another in the Smith Division, resulting in the infamous Battle of Alberta and 3 7-game playoff series spread out throughout 7 seasons. This disparity is a result of the implementation of the draft lottery in the 1994 to 1995 season. The lottery was introduced to prevent teams from tanking and increasing competition. This was done to improve competition and prevent the situation from getting worse. Despite Gary Bettman's assertions to the contrary, this is not the case over the past few years. The rosters of the last 5 teams to win the Cup all had an average age of less than 28 years old, and featured at least a handful of players selected in the draft's first round. Each team had at least one player selected in this draft's first round, because you can acquire players of that caliber only through the draft. Teams are unintentionally encouraged to liquidate their most valuable assets as quickly as possible in order to acquire as much draft capital as they possibly can when there's a little likelihood that their team will be able to compete for the Stanley Cup. The salary ceiling represents the other side of the coin. After the draft lottery prompted an increase in the number of teams competing for the first overall pick, the salary cap eliminated any possibility of a dynasty being re-established. Now that top players are too expensive to keep around for an extended period, teams are required to make choices about which players they want to keep and which players they are willing to let go. Although its intention was to make the league more competitive, in practice, it makes it impossible for top teams to enjoy any kind of sustained success over the long term. Before the lockout that occurred in 2004 to 2005, an average of 32% of teams that won the President's Trophy went on to win the Stanley Cup. This percentage is low, but it's not terrible. Since then, on the other hand, that standard has fallen to an 11% win rate on average. I'm not sure what else could be considered a self-inflicted curse, but that certainly qualifies. The curse's psychology. Now that we know that the President's Trophy curse is more than just a myth, it has become a part of culture that both fans and players love. But how does the curse affect the minds of those who are involved here? The curse can be a source of motivation or stress for the player. If a player has won the President's Trophy, they may feel more pressure to do well in the playoffs, because they know they will be judged harshly if they don't do well. Other people may use the curse as a rallying cry to push themselves to win the Stanley Cup and prove the doubters wrong. There is some evidence to suggest that believing in the curse can cause it to come true on its own. In 2010, the journal Psychological Science published the results of a study that found that when people thought a sports team was cursed, they were more likely to blame bad things on the curse and less likely to blame good things on luck or skill. This means that believing in the curse can change how fans and players see what's going on, which can change how they act and, ultimately, how well they do. The National Hockey League merely operates in this world's reality. The curse of the President's Trophy will ensure that the league produces dominant regular season teams that are eliminated early in the playoff for as long as it continues to exist. The National Hockey League is considering expanding the number of rivalry games it plays from 82 to 84, which will almost certainly result in a wider gap between the league's best and worst teams. This is because the draft lottery favors some teams while the salary cap disadvantages others. This is the actual curse that comes with winning the President's Trophy, and it won't be lifted until the NHL decides to fix its dysfunctional system. Now, what do you guys think? Was this year's curse for the best team, Boston Bruins, or is it just that they played badly? Or were their opponents just above their strength? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below, and don't forget to check out our video on this year's President's Trophy curse. Catch that in the next screen and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, we'll see you later.